If you've clicked on this video, there's a very good chance that you're thinking of or planning a trip to Phnom Penh, Cambodia. And I have to say, after spending 4 days in this city, I have absolutely fallen in love with it. It truly is one underrated gem in Asia that is full of amazing food and amazing people. That said, I would be lying if I had said that I wasn't initially apprehensive about going to Phnom Penh for many reasons, including the fact that I do not speak the language. Fortune favors the prepared, so I did a lot of research before my trip, and I also learned a thing or two during my time there. And in this video, I'm going to share absolutely everything I learned, from how to get from the airport to the city, the apps you need, to navigating the city's dual currency setup, and many more. And so without further ado, let's get into this. Let's start with the best time to go to Phnom Penh. From a weather perspective, the best time to visit this wonderful city is during the dry season, which takes place in between November to February, as the weather is generally cooler and less humid during this time window, making it more comfortable for you to explore the city. The dry season also coincides with several local festivals, which will give you the opportunity to see the city in its liveliest form. This includes the lively Boom Un Tuk. I don't know if I got the pronunciation right, but I've put the name of the festival right here as well. But it's also known as the Water Festival, and that takes place in November. It is one of Cambodia's most vibrant and most celebrated events that marks the end of the rainy season, as well as the reversal of the Tonle Sap river flow. Expect boat racing, plenty of traditional music, dancing, and fireworks. But what about what to bring and pack? As Cambodia is a tropical country, what you would bring in terms of clothing is fairly straightforward. However, there are a few things I would recommend you bring. And the first one is a tropical country must-have, and that is one of these mini fans. This, I think, cost me around 20 bucks off of Amazon, and I have used it in Malaysia, Singapore, Taiwan, Korea, and many other places. Just trust me, bring a mini fan. You're gonna need it. The next one is pretty much an essential no matter where you go. I in fact pretty much wear it as I'm boarding my plane, and that is a comfortable pair of walking shoes, because if you are planning to explore a city, you best believe that you're going to be doing your steps. I must have averaged around 20,000 steps a day easy when I was there, and it's best that you do it with a comfortable pair of walking shoes. You're also going to be spending a lot of time outdoors, and so sunscreens are an absolute standard for me. I generally have this roll-on one by Round Lab in my bag for my face, and I've got a Beach Hut one from just my local Australian pharmacy here that also fits into my bag for the rest of my body, such as the arms and neck and legs. Make sure you bring some so you don't get sunburnt. One new item that I specifically got for this trip, and in fact will be using for all my upcoming trips, is this anti-theft bag. It kind of slides into your front like so. I don't know if you can see it. And it actually fits quite a few things. It actually is quite comfortable and has survived a 4-day trip in Phnom Penh with me. I got this off Amazon. It wasn't expensive. I definitely recommend this. I also wanted to put this next one in its own section because I think it is an absolutely essential thing, not so much to pack, but to prepare before your trip, and that is an active mobile data connection. I personally used my phone a lot when I was in Phnom Penh, namely for using Google Maps, using Grab, currency conversion, and even the occasional translation. The most straightforward way to get an active mobile data connection would be obviously to turn on your data roaming. However, if you're planning to do that, definitely check with your telco provider beforehand to find out what their roaming plans are, so that you're not caught with a big bill at the end of your trip. However, this might not be practical if you plan to be in Cambodia for a longer period of time. And so your next best options would be to purchase a Cambodian eSIM or physical SIM card. So let's talk about those. Let's first talk about my preferred option, and if you're a subscriber, you would already know that I'm gonna start talking about eSIMs. eSIM is basically a virtual SIM card slot that allows your phone to take on an additional network, whilst at the same time preserving your existing one, so that you can continue to receive calls and SMSs during your trip. Most phones nowadays come with an eSIM slot to find out if your phone has one. You can either ask your telco provider or check if your phone has an eID. It looks a little something like this. In terms of eSIM options, if you're going to Cambodia as a solo traveler, I personally recommend AirAlo, which is what I used. The data plans start from around 7 Aussie dollars, and I can actually get you 15% off if you're a new customer and 10% off if you're an existing customer. Simply apply the codes that I've placed in my description box under AirAlo when checking out and thank me later. However, if you're traveling with friends or family or any other situations where you might be sharing a data plan or are just someone who will need a lot of mobile data, Holofly is a better option as they offer unlimited data plan options for Cambodia that start from $18.90 US or around 28 Aussie dollars. If you want to give Holofly a go, I can also get you 5% off. Just use the code that's listed under Holofly in my description box. If your phone, however, does not have an eSIM slot, you will need to get a physical SIM card. The best place to purchase a Cambodian physical SIM card would be at the Phnom Penh International Airport arrival halls. The SIM cards generally cost anything from 15 to 25 US dollars, depending on the package you opt for. But before you do either the physical or eSIM card options, please make sure that your phone is not locked to your existing telco provider, because if that is the case, neither of these options will be for you. If it is locked, then your only other options would be to turn on the roaming or get a separate mobile device to be used when you're in Cambodia. But perhaps one of the most confusing parts as a tourist or first-time traveler to Cambodia is their currency. So let's talk about that. Yes, there will be some places that take credit cards, namely the huger department stores or some restaurants, but cash is the main way you would be paying for yourself as a tourist. So I strongly recommend that you have cash on hand. Cambodia actually uses two currencies concurrently. One is their own native Cambodian riel, aka KHR, but they will also in most cases accept USD. So if you find it difficult to get some Cambodian riel before your trip, just get some USD and you'll be fine. Hey guys, it's Editing Steve jumping in again because I realized I forgot to mention that the condition of your US dollars notes matter. So if you, for example, have some US dollars notes that are perhaps a bit old, they might not be accepted in Cambodia. So just make sure that your bills, the US dollar bills that you use, are quite clean and new. All the menus and things that I looked at when I was in Phnom Penh had pricings in both Cambodian riel and USD. In fact, they are used so interchangeably that you can pay for something using USD and get change given to you in Cambodian riel. If you didn't already have some USD or Cambodian riel on hand, however, not to worry, there are ATM machines or money exchange counters located at the arrival halls. So we've talked about mobile data connection and money. Let's now talk entry requirements. You will need a visa to enter Cambodia. Not to worry though, as the process to obtain the visa is fairly straightforward. You can either apply for an e-visa online or do it upon arrival in Cambodia. Though personally, I would recommend for you to do it prior to your arrival. You just never know how busy the airport is going to be. You can apply for the e-visa via this link, which I've also placed in my description box. Filling in the application form is so straightforward, so I won't go through that with you. It cost me 36 US dollars to process and it took around 3 days to be approved. The visa is single entry and valid for 30 days. Don't forget as well, as with most other countries, that your passport will need to have a 6 months validity. If you're entering Cambodia via air, you will also need to complete an electronic arrival form. This one's free and you can do it via this link within 7 days of your arrival. Of course, YouTube videos live forever. What I've said now is valid as of the time of the writing of this video. It is always pertinent for you to double check this information with the official immigration website at the time of your trip. Okay, you've arrived in Phnom Penh. Let's now talk about how to get you from the airport to the city. The Phnom Penh International Airport is located roughly 10 kilometers from the city. It will take you around 30 minutes or so to get there, and there are a few options to consider. The The most straightforward one would be to catch a cab. You can get a cab once you leave the arrival halls of the Phnom Penh International Airport. However, remember how we spoke about the eSIMs earlier? I would recommend to activate your eSIM upon arrival in Phnom Penh and book the cab to your accommodation via Grab instead. The reason for this, apart from potential language barriers, is that the price to take you from the airport to your accommodation will be fixed. It is fairly cheap to catch a cab. It's going to cost you anything from $9 to a maximum of $15 to get a cab from the airport to your accommodation. But if you're looking for a slightly cheaper option, I would recommend grabbing a tuk-tuk. You can also book a tuk-tuk via the Grab app. Just a point to note that if you do have a lot of luggage, catching a tuk-tuk is probably not practical. But whether you get a Grab or a tuk-tuk, you will need to go to the Grab waiting area to hop on your ride. It is fairly straightforward to locate the waiting area. You can't miss it. It is this huge green sign that says Grab, and you will see it across the parking area once you've exited the arrival halls. Depending on where you're staying, by the way, your hotel may even offer pickup services, so it might be worthwhile checking with your accommodation before your trip if this comes with your accommodation. Speaking of accommodation, one of the most frequently asked questions by visitors to Phnom Penh is where to stay. By far, the most popular area to stay in Phnom Penh is Riverside. It is located along Mekong River and is home to a variety of accommodation options, from luxury hotels to cozy guest houses that cater to different budgets. The key selling point of Riverside is that it is within walking distance to popular attraction spots such as the Royal Palace, the National Museum, and the markets. It is a great choice if you love to be in the center of action, as the dining nightlife options here are also expansive. And so if you don't mind the hustle and bustle and are traveling to Phnom Penh for the first time, I would recommend staying in this area. In terms of specifically where, I ended up booking a room at the Plantation Urban Resort and Spa, which is located just behind the Royal Palace, and I did this for a few reasons. First of all, look at how stunning and high-end this hotel looks. The resort comprises 2 beautiful outdoor pools, the spa. There's also a free daily breakfast that comes with it. The breakfast nook overlooks one of the main outdoor pools. But by far, the best part of this all is my room here costs just 64 Singapore dollars a night. And so if you were to ask me for my honest opinion, I would say don't think anymore. This is the place you should be staying at if you're visiting Phnom Penh. Now that you're all checked in, you are ready to explore the city. So let's now talk about how you're going to be getting around. And if you're staying in the Riverside area, most of the popular tourist attraction spots will be within walking distance. The best way to get around if you're not into walking in tropical weather would be to catch a cab. It is so cheap. It would generally cost you around $1 to $5 to get around. However, much like the ride from the airport to the city, I would recommend booking your rides via Grab, or even consider using their local version of Grab, which I believe is called Pass app. Catching a cab is going to be the best way to get around, especially if you're traveling with family or a group of people. However, if you're traveling by yourself or even just with another +1, I highly recommend getting around using their tuk-tuks. It is an experience that must be had if you're in Phnom Penh. However, if you are riding a tuk-tuk, do make note to be very careful about your belongings. And that leads quite nicely into this next section where we talk about safety. Now, I want to preface this section by saying that I met some of the nicest people when I was in Phnom Penh and I had the best time, and also nothing happened to me while I was there. However, my pre-trip research and also the receptionist at my accommodation did advise me to be really careful about my belongings while I was navigating myself around the city, as theft targeting foreigners are especially prevalent on sidewalks, on motorcycles and tuk-tuks. And so apart from being really careful about your belongings, I would also recommend again that anti-theft bag that I showed you earlier. Having said all of that though, I would imagine that this is a common practice no matter where you go to. But I just thought that I would put this in as well. But what should I be checking out, Steve? Where should we go? What can you do in Phnom Penh? I will be uploading another video next week that showcases all the places I went to when I was in Phnom Penh. I have seen some amazing things, from beautiful temples to trying out some absolutely delicious cuisine. I'm Steve from the Fat Life Project, by the way, and my channel is all about creating fat travel guides just like this one that you're watching now to help you simplify your travel planning. So if that is your vibe, I strongly recommend clicking on that subscribe button so that we can go on more fat travel adventures together. Don't forget to also like and comment if you found value in this video. It really does help in appeasing those YouTube algorithm gods, but more importantly, it just makes my day as a content creator. And if you got to this point of the video, thank you so much for watching. As always, I truly appreciate it. I do hope that you have a fantastic day ahead or that you've already had a good day. As always, I will see you very soon in the next video. Ciao!